If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine, and maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them, from disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warmer for the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you, as we are going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, as we're going to be talking some ball with William Boor over at Action Network. We're going to be checking in with him as we're about 2 months through the season. What have been some of the biggest surprises to him? What are some of the divisional races that he's taking a look at? We're going to be breaking up both the American League and the National League West. We have to talk about the fact that the Rockies are now 9-50 to start the season. My gosh. And in the final segment, we're going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways we'll fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, the name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Do not get in any Twitter/X questions today, but everything is powered over by EdgeBoost. EdgeBoost does an amazing job of making sure that bettors are able to access their funds every day for all their gambling-related transactions. If you go to edgeboost.bet, utilize that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That'll get you a $1 match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's take a look back at everything that we saw in baseball on Sunday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
Mention it with the Colorado Rockies. They are now 3-28 on the road this season. They lose again. This by a count of 5-3. They actually got a 1-0 lead in this game too. Orlando Arcia, I see you getting your first home run of the season off of Clay Holmes, and then Tyler Freeman get his first home run of the campaign also off of Holmes. For Holmes, he gives up 3 runs over the course of 7 innings. Reed Garrett, Edwin Diaz led his squirrel inning from there, and for the Mets, a trio of bombs. Juan Soto, home runs in back-to-back games. He was as cold as an igloo before this series. Now he's back. He goes deep off of Zach Agnos, his 10th home run season, and then Carson Palmquist gives up home runs to Francisco Lindor, 13th home run of the campaign, 12th home run of the season for Pete Alonso. As Palmquist, 4 2/3 innings, allows those 4 runs. Jake Bird, he was able to go for 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Tyler Kinley, 8 scoreless inning, and then Agnos gives up a home run in his inning work. As you had the Milwaukee Brewers be able to take you to the Philadelphia Phillies. They win this series, and they get a 5-2 win for the Philadelphia Phillies. Ranger Suarez was not bad in this one. He gives up 2 runs, one of which was earned over the course of 6 innings. Orion Kerkering, 2 unearned runs in his inning of work. Matt Strom, a scoreless inning, and Jordan Romano, he gave up a run in an inning for the Philadelphia Phillies. They go 2 of 10 with men in scoring position as they had a tough time being able to get to the bullpen. Nick Mears, Jared Koenig, Abner Uribe, Trevor McGill, they all lend a scoreless inning, and Jose Quintana, 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings for the Baltimore Orioles. 3-2, they're able to take it to the Chicago White Sox. As for Baltimore, they were able to get a little bit to Adrian, don't call him Doogie Howser, 3 runs allowed over the course of 6 1/3 innings. You had from there Stephen Wilson give you not out of the bullpen scoreless, Brandon Eisert, 1 1/3 inning scoreless, and Mike Tauchman, he was able to have a triple and a homer. He missed the single and the double for the cycle, but second home run of the campaign, that comes off of Gregory Soto. He gives up a home run in 2/3 of an inning of work. Charlie Morton, all of a sudden, a good start. 1 unearned run allowed at 6 2/3 innings, and shows the stinkitude that we've currently got with the Chicago White Sox in terms of their offense. You had from there Andrew Kittredge give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Brian Baker was able to give you a scoreless inning as well. As for the Chicago White Sox, they've actually been a pretty rock-solid under team for you thus far this season as well. So they've been an interesting team to take a look at, to say the least. But the best under team in all baseball, that'd be the Walker Texas Rangers. Entered into Sunday with just 7 overs at home to 25 unders, but they got overwhelming in this one, 8-1. They're able to take you to the St. Louis Cardinals thanks to a 5 spot in the 8th inning, as Eric Fetty Wap, not too bad in this one. 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. Kyle Leahy from there gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Steven Matz as 3 runs, one of which was earned in a third of an inning, and you had from there 2 runs given up in an inning from Roderi Munoz, who allows a home run. As for the Walker Texas Rangers, Josh Smith gets his 5th home run of the campaign, and Jacob deGrom, another good start. Not a ton of strikeouts, only 4 punch-outs, but 1 run allowed in 6 innings. From there, Hobie Milner, Sean Armstrong combined for 2 scoreless innings. Luke Jackson is able to give you a scoreless inning as well. For the Toronto Blue Jays, they sweep the Athletics and they get their offense going, as I believe every single one of these games in the series went over the total. 8-4 the final is. For the A's, you had JP Sears give you a relatively solid start. 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Mitch Pence, 2 scoreless innings from there, but Justin Sterner, 4 runs, 3 of which were earned, giving up a home run without getting a single out. Edison Barger, his 5th home run of the campaign. Meanwhile, Kevin Gausman was not long for this game for Toronto. 3 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings, but bullpen at his back. Eric Swanson, he gives up a run in an inning, but Chad Green, Jeff Hoffman both give you a scoreless inning. Mason Fluharty was able to give you 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, and for the Athletics, Grant Holman gives up 2 runs over the course of his inning of work as well. You had a lot of work being done by Garrett Crochet, as he crochets a 3-1 win over the Atlanta Braves. For the Bravos, not a lot doing at the plate. Marcell Ozuna gets his 10th home run season off of Crochet in inning number 1, and that's all that Crochet would allow. 10 punch-outs, gives us up that solo home run in his 7 innings of work. Greg Weiser, Aroldis Chapman from there, both on the scoreless inning, and all 3 runs batted in by the Boston Red Sox come off the bat of Trevor Story. That's not something that you saw coming, as he gets a Bryce Elder giving up 3 runs in 5 1/3 innings, and Yo De Los Santos, 5 outside the bullpen scoreless. Aaron Bummer, 2 scoreless innings, and Raciel Iglesias was able to give you a scoreless inning as well. You saw the Guardians get the job done at home against the Angels, this by a count of 4-2. As for the Angels, they've had a little bit of a tough time getting their offense going away from home, so that's been interesting to say the least. And for Cleveland, they got themselves a good start out of Gavin Williams. 2 earned runs allowed in 6 2/3 innings. Hunter Gaddis was able to end a scoreless inning along with Emmanuel Clase for the save. Matthew Festa in out of the bullpen scoreless, and Jose Ramirez, 11th home run season. That comes off of Jack Konowitz, who is not long for this game. 4 runs allowed in 3 2/3 innings. Credit to the Angels bullpen, actually not terrible in this one. Hunter Strickland, Brock and Roll Burke both provide 2 scoreless innings apiece. Connor Brogdon in out of the bullpen scoreless, but too little too late. For the Kansas City Royals, they played a nice game of Easter against the Detroit Tigers, as they knocked them off 1-0 on Saturday, and then on Sunday they lose by a count of 1-0. So the Royals now 21 overs, 38 unders, and a push. They have been a very underwhelming team. Kadir Montero, he was able to give you 4 2/3 innings scoreless. From there, Tyler Holton, Tommy Cantley, Will Vest all on his scoreless inning, and 1 1/3 innings scoreless out of Chase Lee for the Detroit Tigers. They did just enough off of Chris with the K. Bubich, who had another nice start. 1 run allowed over the course of 7 innings. He did his part. Anil Zerpa, Jonathan Bolin, they combined for 2 scoreless innings, but for the Royals, they were not able to supply a single run in this game, so that was relatively brutal for them. For the Houston Astros, they do find a way to be able to get the job done 1-0 over the Tampa Bay Rays. As for the Rays, just absolutely nothing going in this one, as Todd Junko and Milton Bradley, good start here. 7 innings, gives up an unearned run, was hurt by a Junior Caminero fielding error. Edwin Uceta from there gives you a scoreless inning out of the bullpen for the Houston Astros. Hunter Brown was just on 1. He allows 1 hit in 6 scoreless innings. Brian King, Brian Abreu, they combine for 2 scoreless innings, and then Josh Hader is able to close things out in the 9th inning. The Arizona Diamondbacks get the job done against the Washington Nationals, this by a count of 3-1. After they gave up 10 runs in the first inning, they have given up in their last 17 innings against the Washington Nationals. They combined 2 runs. As for Washington, Mitchell Parker wasn't bad in this one. 3 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings, including a homer going deep for Arizona, and Eugenio Suarez, 16th home run of the season. And Corbin Burns didn't last long. He only went 4 2/3 innings, but allowed just 1 run. From there, bullpen held it down, as you had Jalen Beeks giving out of the bullpen. Shelby Miller, Justin Martinez both go for a scoreless inning, and Kristen Mena was able to give you 2 scoreless innings, and for Washington, their bullpen was on point as well. Eduardo Salazar, Zach Brzezinski, Brad Lord, all able to supply a scoreless inning for the Seattle Mariners. They get a 2-1 win over the Minnesota Twins, as you had a stolen base and then a just stealing of third of Julio Rodriguez, as there was a throwing error that put him on third base for Griffin Jax. Was unable to hold it down, gave up a run in his inning of work. Chris Paddock, though, really good start. 10 punch-outs. He allows a solo home run in his 8 innings of work. Cal Raleigh, 23rd home run of the campaign. Then for Luis Castillo, really good start. 6 scoreless innings. Edward Bazardo, Matt Brash, both allow nothing in their inning of work. Andres Munoz actually blows the save. He gives up a run in an inning, but the team, they're able to persevere. They do get the job done in the 10th inning. Also being able to persevere and get the job done, the Chicago Cubs, best over team in all baseball. 33 overs, 21 unders, and 5 pushes. 7-3. They're able to take it to the Cincinnati Reds, as Nick Martinez, 5 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings, including a bomb, as Michael Busch, his 8th home run season. James Satayon, he gives up a home run run himself, but just 2 runs in 6 1/3 innings as you had Ellie De La Cruz get his 12th home run season for the Reds bullpen. Lyon Richardson gives up 2 earned runs in his inning of work. Brent Suter, 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Taylor Rogers, a scoreless inning, and the Cubs bullpen holds it down. Ryan Presley, Ryan Brazier, they both go for an inning. Brazier does give up a run in his inning of work. Caleb Theobar, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. Cubs then get another over. You had yourself another low-scoring slog as well out there with the San Francisco Giants being able to get it done against the Miami Marlins. 4-2 the final is for Miami. They have still played north of 63% of their home games to the over since the beginning of the 2024 season, but for Miami, Ryan Weathers, he was not able to weather this storm. Gives up 4 runs over the course of 6 innings, including a home run. Going deep for the San Francisco Giants, Luis Matos, his 4th home run season. Hayden Birdsong, rock solid start. 1 run allowed in 5 1/3 innings. He did have Jordan Hicks give up a run in 1/3 of an inning, but Ryan Walker, Tyler Rogers, Eric Miller, I'll give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Camilo Duvall, a 4-out save scoreless, and for the Miami Marlins bullpen, you had Cade Gibson, Tyler Phillips, Jesus Tinoco, all lend a scoreless setting. And then this game is going on as I record this, as I had live bets Sunday actually on VSiN. I had to do that from 7 to 11 Eastern time, so I had to do this on a little bit of advance. But Pirates currently leading the San Diego Padres. As for the Padres, not what they were hoping for out of Randy Vasquez, 3 1/3 innings. He allows 4 runs, so now they're going to be looking to rally. As for the Pittsburgh Pirates, he did have a pair of home runs in this one. Andrew McCutchen, 5th home run season, and Adam Frazier, his 3rd home run of the campaign, and currently doing this not knowing how the Yankees versus Dodgers game went. And if you're looking trend-wise at what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, with those 2 results still pending on Sunday, it has still been very much an underwhelming season thus far. And over the last 7 days, unders have been hitting 46 unders, 39 overs, with the favorites on the money line hitting at a rock-solid rate, 52 and 36 over the last 7 days. That's about 59%, and overall for the season, more like 58.3%, 509 and 364 on the money line. Meanwhile, the under for the season hitting at 53.5%, 450 unders and 392 overs. So that's where we're getting in baseball right now. That's where we're seeing trend-wise in this great sport. Coming up next, how about if we talk about what we've seen in the first 2 months of the season with our good friend William Boor of Action Network right here on the Baseball Betting Show. Myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine, and maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them, from disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got William Boor aboard. He does an absolutely tremendous job over at Action Network. Take a look at this great game of baseball. And over at Action Network, they cover a little bit of everything. If you need insights with regards to football, basketball, baseball, you name it, they got you covered. They've got World of the Weird stuff, as the hot dog eating contest is coming up in a month, and I know that they always do a great job on that front. In addition to all the action over at Action Network, I know that William Boor, you see some of his work over in New York Post and so much more as well. And you're able to follow him on Twitter/X at the letter W. His last name Boor, Boor, all together. And William, it's great to get you aboard. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, Greg. Always happy to hop on with you.
Always happy to have you aboard. And William, we've gotten past the 2-month marker in baseball. We are now past Memorial Day, so this is sort of when things become real for a lot of these teams. And just what have been some of your biggest takeaways from the first 2 months of the season? Because I think that it's been a very interesting one.
Yeah, definitely. Partially because I live in Arizona, so I'm surrounded by it. But like the NL West is fascinating for, 4 or 5 teams. I think we knew this race was going to be close, but it's cool that it actually is, because, having expectations and then reality don't always meet. So it's pretty cool to just see this race be really good. Kind of same with the NL East. I wouldn't have expected. I know we're pre-recording this and it's a half game, so by the time people listen to this, it can change. But I wouldn't have expected the Nationals to be above the Braves in the standings. That's kind of surprising. But, the Braves got off to that rough start, but now they're starting to creep back up toward 500. I'm sure they'll be fine when we check in on them in 50 more games. Yeah, the NL East is standout. The real ones like the NL West, that's just being such a fun division to follow, and I expect it to stay that way throughout the rest of the summer.
And every one of those teams is so interesting as well because you've got the Arizona Diamondbacks, so I think that they're going to be able to rise up a little bit more. They're currently below 500, but they're a solid team. Obviously, the Padres and the San Francisco Giants, they entered the weekend 2 to 3 games back of the LA Dodgers, and then I have to bring this up. The Colorado Rockies, fact that they enter into Sunday at 9-49, we knew that this team was going to be bad. We all expected them to lose 100 plus games, but my gosh, they are just so historically bad. And I just want to get your thoughts as to what we make on this, and if there's even a reasonable way to be able to fade this team at this point, because everything is now priced to the moon.
We expected them to be bad. We expected them to lose 100 plus games. I don't know if we expected them to lose 140 plus games. This is insane. There was a point in, late April, early May where you're like, it's kind of sad, kind of weird. Now we're kind of approaching like funny territory, and you're like, wait, how many games can they actually lose? What kind of records can they set? And it's just, I don't know, it's just intriguing. Run differentials -177 as we're recording this. Expected win-loss 1344, which, I mean, so there's a little bit of bad luck with them, but also like that's still really bad. As far as being able to fade them,
that would put on their 40% of their wins.
Yeah, exactly. As far as being able to fade them, you're right. Everything's priced so hard. You really got to go into derivative markets and, opponent player props, team totals, yes, run first innings for the other team and just target innings. You really got to get creative if you want to bet against the Rockies because, run lines are, too much juice. The money line's always -300 for the other team. The totals are high because they know the Rockies are going to give up 75 runs a game. But yeah, you got to go into the player props. You got to go into these weird, total base props, or are the Rockies going to turn a double play today? Or just the specific second inning money line. You really got to do some digging. There's value to be had, but it's going to take some time.
Yeah, man, this is just absolutely brutal. The run lines are starting to be laying 3.5 runs to fade the Colorado Rockies, and those are actually pretty profitable right now. So, man, it's just sad to say the least. As we do have William Boor, who does great work over at Action Network, joining me on the Baseball Betting Show. And then this division I find to be very interesting as well, as we saw the Astros for a brief moment overtake the Seattle Mariners out there in the AL West, and somehow, some way, the Texas Rangers are still clinging aboard. They're still very much in it. The Angels are as well. What do we make out of an AL West where it just feels like really no team wants to separate?
Yeah, it's Angels are kind of surprising. I liked the Mariners preseason. I still like the Mariners. A little bit of a skid over this past week, but assuming everyone stays healthy, I mean, that pitching staff is good, and they're going to be tough to beat. They're going to be there the whole time. Julio Rodriguez homered last night. He's starting to heat up a little bit. I really like Seattle, but it's going to be hard, as you mentioned, for them to separate. This division is going to probably go down the wire. Houston, I know it's not the same team as years past, no Bregman, no Tucker, but there's still a lot of winners on that team, on that organization. They're not going to go away. The Rangers, obviously 2 years ago, world champions, they're not going to go away. I'm not really sure the Angels getting Mike Trout back certainly helps. I'm not sure if they have the staying power to stay with it, but whether they do or not, it's still going to be a 3-horse race, maybe a 4-horse race. This division is going to be tight.
Yep, it is going to be a very tight race, and this is going to be a very interesting one, to say the least. And I've been taking a look at this all season long. What do you make out of the fact that the Rangers, every single one of their home games is going under the total? Because that's been one of the most stark things I've seen all season. I didn't expect the Rangers to be absolutely ripping the cover off the ball, but they have really not hit for any sort of average, any sort of power, and yet here they are right in the middle of the race because their pitching has been that good.
Yeah, it's weird. You look at the lineup, if I just gives you the names and not the batting averages or the expected batting averages or anything, you think this is a pretty solid lineup. This is maybe not the best lineup in baseball, but like you said, upper half, right around middle, and it's just not performing that way. It's weird. I'm at that point where, when do you start thinking of regression to the mean and they're off to a slow start, they'll heat up, blah, blah, or wait a minute, we're 60 games in. At some point, maybe this is just who they are this year. Maybe they've got names, but it's a team that can't hit, because at some point you've got to just accept the results for what they are. And I think 60 games is, a good enough sample size that we're like, hey, this is not the slugging team that maybe we expected.
Yeah, boy. Jock Peterson has not been able to get online. Jake Berger has not been able to get online. Marcus Simeon, it's been all sorts of rough for those guys. As joining me on the show, we do have William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network, and we're recording this as we don't have numbers up on the games for Monday, but we do have some pretty interesting games that are going to be going down, and this is going to be a fun series. We've got the Colorado Rockies going up against the Miami Marlins. This might be one of their best chances at a win all season long, but how do you gauge this series? And with the Miami Marlins, could this be a nice way for them to be able to bust out? Because with the Marlins, they've been an interesting team thus far this season with a bunch that has some pitchers that all of a sudden Cal Quantrill, Max Meyer have been able to give you a little bit of something, and they've just been one of those weird teams that evaluate for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. They're tricky. You won't have good prices against the Rockies, obviously. But the Marlins seem like a team that are always huge dogs, but you look at it and you're like, I don't know if they should be priced kind of that way. There seems to be some value there on some Marlins games. It won't be this week, but you're right. This is a good spot for any team playing the Rockies, but a team like the Marlins, who's kind of going through it right now, seeing Colorado pop up on your schedule, come visit you at home is a nice time to. Normally, I want to say take 2 of 3, take 3 of 4, but when it's the Rockies, yeah,
any loss is a bad loss against the Rockies.
Exactly. This isn't. Normally, you approach every series with let's win the series, and this is no, you need to sweep this team.
Yep, exactly. And I think that this is very fun as well. We've got the Padres versus Giants series starting up with it being for Monday, Stephen Kolek against Logan Webb. And I want to get your thoughts as to what we've seen, because you talked a lot about the NOS before about this Giants team, because I think that they're their most intriguing team right now with regards to the division, in that their pitching has been very rock solid, not just with the starting pitching, but it's been the bullpen pitching that has led them to this really good start.
Love Logan Webb. And you're right. The Giants, the pitching has been really good. This is going to be a huge series. I know we're only in, I guess this will be June by the time it comes out. I guess it's early June, but this division is so close. Any series or any games between these teams, you have to take advantage of. And I think for the Giants, that's even more true on the days that Webb starts. When you have your ace going against the division team, I'm not calling any game on June 2nd or 3rd or whatever it is a must win. Obviously, there are plenty of games left and you can recover from anything. But these games you can't waste. This is the kind of game or the kind of series where if you lose the wild card or you lose the division or something like that by 1 game or 2, which I think this is how the NL wild card's probably going to shake out. These are kind of the games you look back on. I think this is a huge series for the Giants for sure.
Yep, I think that it's a massive one too out there in an NL West that is going to be a lot of fun to evaluate. And then speaking of the NL West, it's going to be also Dodgers versus Mets for a series as well. And I think the Mets are such an intriguing team in that they've actually been below 500 away from them, but they've been so dominant at them. Looks like it's going to be Dustin May who's going to be going for the LA Dodgers versus most likely Tyler McGill. And I want to get your thoughts on this game and just the series as a whole, because I think this is a good litmus test really out there in the National League.
Yeah, litmus test is perfect. This is a really good time for us to see, 2 of the best teams in the NL go at it, see what's what. I think the other thing that's going to be interesting about this is the Dodgers. You mentioned May starting. The Dodgers have had pitching troubles. But they're obviously, still 10 plus games over 500 because they can score 8 runs on anybody and just, dominate that. But the Mets have obviously been a very good pitching team this year. And also, if the game goes the other way, the Mets have the offense that can keep up with the Dodgers. Not a ton of teams can. So it'll be curious to see how this goes. Do the Mets shut down the Dodgers bats? Do the Mets just keep up with the Dodgers in a slugfest? Kind of what happens here. But I think this will be a very fun series because we just get, 2 of the best teams in the National League. It's sort of a playoff preview.
Absolutely. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to see what we get this week in baseball. And just in terms of teams that you're trying to find a little bit of value on, it could be players as well. Just what do you take a look at across baseball right now? What has been really working / not working for you over the last few weeks?
I think teams, especially as we don't have prices yet, but as I'm kind of looking at the Monday slate, the Reds are interesting. The Reds aren't bad, but they're also, they're never laying a big number because they shouldn't be. They're around 500 team, but they're managed well. They have some intriguing names. I think the Reds are a fun team to bet on, but also just if you take betting out of it, just to watch, I just really like the way they play. And there seems to be some value there for sure.
Yep, with the Cincinnati Reds, it is a very intriguing team in that it just feels like they're a little bit hit or miss, but it feels like they've got some guys out there in that starting rotation that you can really bet on. Like, it's been incredible what we've seen out of Andrew Abbott this far this season. And Nick Martinez has been a nice find as well. And what's always is a nice find is finding you on the show, William. You do such an excellent job over at Action Network. Take a look at this great game of baseball. So let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, of course. Follow me on Twitter and or Blue Sky at WBoor, WBOOR. If you just want my bets, they're in the Action Network app. My name there is William Boor _, all one word. But also just be sure to check out actionnetwork.com. We've got everything. We've got betting guides on pretty much every single baseball game. With the NBA and NHL winding down, we're obviously going to cover the finals of all of that. But with that winding down, we've also got WNBA stuff to bet on. We've got college baseball, College World Series is coming up. I know you teased it at the beginning of this. Like, we'll probably have hot dog eating stuff in July. Anything you want to bet on, we will probably have a piece of content on to hopefully help everyone make better decisions and win some money.
Absolutely. Like, don't eat 27 hot dogs in 10 minutes. That's a good decision, to say the least. But what is always an amazing decision as well, getting William aboard. He does such a great job taking a look at this great game of baseball. So big thanks, William, for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the Visa Family Podcast. And coming next, it is that Down the Podcast. I give you picks and analysis of the game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all.
If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine, and maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them, from disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by William Boor, who does such great work over at Action Network. Taking a look at this great game of baseball that we all know and love. Every single time he joins me, he lends impeccable insights. Did so once again today. So big thanks to William for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that, as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_81, and we're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games, any intra-league games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. A little bit of a small card, but a fun one, and it starts with 951, 952 on the board. You've got the Miami Marlins playing host to the Colorado Rockies. Rockies are anywhere between plus 149 to plus 160 underdogs. Minus 165 to minus 190 is that number on Miami, with 8 being the total. Overs between minus 115 to a minus 110. The unders between minus 105 to a minus 110. And if you're looking at the Marlins run line right now, only seeing that at FanDuel, plus 112, which is tremendous value. Going into the day on Sunday, the Rockies had played 58 games and they had lost 38 by multiple runs. Now, I recognize that the Miami Marlins have had their warts this season. Max Meyer is not necessarily the Mona Lisa Vito of pitching. He's been posting up a 453 ERA. Feel you put him more around about a 410. He's giving up a home run and a half per 9 innings, but he is getting 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. But for the Rockies, albeit they scored a few runs yesterday, but they entered into yesterday with 2.3 runs per game away from home. And away from home, this is a team that's hitting below the Mendoza line of a 200. Adding in there, Orlando Arcia was able to go deep yesterday. Should be able to help this team out a little bit, but I mean, you still have a whole bunch of sad and pathetic bats in this lineup, as you've got the likes of Jacob Stallings, Ryan McMahon, Tyler Freeman, who all these guys are overall hitting a 215 or lower. Brenton Doyle, Keston Hira, which is more like Keston Hip Hip Boo for this team. Jordan Beck, along with Hunter Goodman, have given you 8 home runs, and both of these guys are hitting at least a 250, so a little bit of credit where it is due, and the Rockies are clearly shaking things up because they realize what they've done is not going right, but man, it's not great to say the least. And for the Colorado Rockies, they actually do have a few okay bullpen pieces, like Zach Ognos has been able to give you a sub-350 ERA along with Jake Bird. They did have to use up Jake Bird yesterday, but I mean, those guys have given you a bit of something. Ryan Rollison has not been terrible. Jimmy Herget has given you a sub-4 ERA, and you're getting Victor Vodnik off the injured list. But for the Miami Marlins, I do think that Meyer is going to be able to give by far the better start. Now, you do want to be cautious of their bullpen as well. Andrew Nardi being on the injured list has hurt this team, but AC Sunoco north of 4 ERA. You got Kate Gibson trying to mix and match a little bit. Anthony Bender has actually been really good for the team with a sub-3 ERA, but Calvin Fauché and company, not necessarily amazing. What has been pretty rock solid, though, is the fact that you've got Kyle Stowers, who's been able to give you 10 home runs. He's doing a nice job moving line, give you north of a 350 on base. They are dealing with the injury to Xavier Edwards. I still remember he had a cycle last season against the Brewers, but Eric Wagman is moving line. He, AC Sanchez, Agustin Ramirez entered into Sunday hitting about a 250 to a 256, and in the case of Agustin Ramirez, 7 home runs as far this season. Matt Mervis also has 7 home runs, but he is hitting for no average whatsoever. He's been relatively relegated out of the lineup, and I wouldn't be surprised if they DFA him because I have not seen him out there in the last few days, so they are probably going to be looking in a different direction there. They've had to try to mix and match with this lineup, but getting back Dave Myers is going to be able to help them out quite a bit. I just have absolutely no faith in Omar Marquez. 7.13 ERA. Fielding independent is better than that because he's given up less than a home run per 9 innings, but fewer than 5.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, north of 3 walks per 9 innings. He's been a human pinata all season long. I set my Marlins money line price at a minus 286. I'm willing to take that plus money run line. I was willing to go up to a minus 149 and did set my total at 7.8. I flat out don't think that the Rockies do their part with this total, so in on the under and the Miami Marlins run line, 953, 954 on the betting board. The Cincinnati Reds, and yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They playoffs to the Milwaukee Brewers as you've got Mr. Aaron Savali on the bump for the Crew, and Brady Singer hopes to have the Brewers singing the blues as the Brewers are anywhere between plus 105 to plus 110 underdogs, minus 120 to minus 126 as that number on Cincinnati. 9 is the total. Over is between minus 115 to minus 125. Under is between minus 105 to a plus 105. Did set my total at 9.3. I'm going to be in on the over. Aaron Savali just has not looked great since coming off the injured list. He has made 3 starts as far this season, and he has not been able to deliver. He's got a 6 ERA. He's given up 4 home runs in 12 total innings as far this season, so he's not delivering a lot of length, and he's backed up by a Brewers bullpen that's currently 23rd in the big leagues. After last year, they were actually number 1 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Like Yo Piams, Elvis Figueroa, they were great last season. Both of these guys have dealt with injuries, sent down to the minors, DFA'd. I mean, it's been up, down, all around for those guys. Jared Koenig has been okay, give you a sub-4 ERA. Nick Mears, after a nice start to the season, is starting to regress, so really like what Abner Uribe has been able to do. He's been able to give you a sub-250 ERA, so that's been rock solid along Trevor McGill, but has been a very suspect bullpen, to say the least. Now, for the Milwaukee Brewers, they've actually been a whole heck of a lot better with their run scoring when they've been away from home rather than at home. For the Milwaukee Brewers, this has been a top 10 team in terms of their run creation when they've been away from home this season. As a matter of fact, they are number 4 in the league in terms of runs per game away from home, and nearly 5.2 runs per contest. I don't know if that's going to be long lasting because you don't necessarily have a ton of power for this team. You have Christian Yelich be able to give you a double figure amount of homers. Call it what it is. This is not vintage MVP Christian Yelich, even though he has been able to give you that power. He's still only hitting about a 235. Then you've got Jackson Trios give you 9 home runs along with Reese Hoskins. Hoskins is moving the line with the 375 on base trio, though. 22 on base. You could use a little bit more there. This is still one of the best base stealing teams in all baseball, though. Trio, Yelich, Sal Frelick, Bryce Terang and Frelick both give you north of 345 on base. All these guys with at least 10 stolen bases, so that helps you out. And William Contreras back up to a 366 on base. Flip side for the Reds, so I do think the Brady Singer gives you a little bit of better start. 4.6 ERA, fielding independence a little bit better than that. He's given up just a skoge more than home run per 9 innings, 7.5 strikeouts to 3.5 walks per 9 innings. He's backed up by a bullpen that's suffering right around about 19th in the league in terms of bullpen ERA. Graham Ashcraft has been a load of Ashcraft. We have seen him go down the toilet bowl recently, but Tony Santillan, Taylor Rogers, both give you a sub-3.3 ERA. They've been solid. Ryan Richardson has actually been pretty good as a long guy as well, and with this Reds lineup, you do have Ellie De La Cruz supplying 11 home runs, about a 325 on base. Contrary to popular belief, the Reds are actually scoring more runs per game away from home rather than at home. That's because they had an outlier 24 spot against the Baltimore Orioles about a month or so ago, so their numbers are a little bit warped there, but Austin DeSay's kid, he's been able to hit above a 306 home runs in his first 120 or so at bats of the season. Lions back on the injury list, so that's not great to say the least. You do have, though, Gavin Lux, TJ Friedel, both entering into Sunday with at least a 380 on base. Spencer Sear should be able to start to give you a little bit more as it's been a rough season for him, but getting back Tyler Stevenson has been able to help them out a little bit as well, so very interesting circumstance. Don't have a lot of faith in either of these starters, but Savali especially has just not been great, and I think that the Reds get to him. So I told 9.3. I like the over with the Reds. Set them at a minus 143 on the money line, so going to be willing to lay that. 9.55, 9.56 on the betting board. It is the Slam Diego Padres at the road. They're facing up against the San Francisco Giants. Right now, the board reads undecided versus undecided, so they really didn't do us too much of a solid here. We should be getting Logan Webb going up against Stephen Kolek, and if we do indeed get Webb versus Kolek, I've got my price right here. I set the Giants at a minus 183 on the money line, so I would be probably wanting to get a run line there. If I can get north of plus 110 on that Giants run line, I'd be looking at that plus 184 or higher, looking at the Padres, and then so I told at 7.4, 7 or less than on the over 7.5 or higher, the under. Now, if you don't get Stephen Kolek, which I think is a big question in this one, probably looking at a 7.5 or less to the over and 8 or higher to the under, but I'm thinking this should be what we get. As for Logan Webb, he would be going on normal rest, and for Logan Webb, he would be at home. And for Logan Webb, you always want to be taking a look at him at home versus on the road, as he has just been dynamic when he has been in his friendly confines, and this dates all the way back since he made his MLB debut in 2019. And obviously, San Francisco, very much a pitcher's ballpark, but 268 home ERA, 406 ERA on the road. He's giving up less than a half a home run per 9 innings when he's at home. Still solid on the road, but that's closer to about 0.8 home runs per 9 innings, and Logan Webb has really been able to up his swing and miss stuff this season. How about being able to supply 10.3 strikeouts per 9 innings at 220 fielding dependent to go along with his 280 ERA? And if you do indeed get Mr. Kolek, he's been pretty presentable for the San Diego Padres. Already has a complete game to his credit, albeit it was against the Colorado Rockies in a 21-0 shutout, but he has a complete game to his credit. 387 fielding dependent. He does a nice job keeping the ball in the yard. Even did last season coming out of the bullpen for the San Diego Padres team, as he's been able to supply you with a 4.11 ERA, 387 fielding dependent, 7 strikeouts to 3 walks per 9 innings. Not going to completely blow you away, and this is a San Diego Padres lineup that has two main guys that will be able to bring the boom, as Gavin Sheets along with Fernando Tatis Jr. both will be able to supply a double-figure amount of homers. For Tatis Jr. hitting about a 270, so rock solid there, and then for Gavin Sheets, he's hitting in that neighborhood about 270 as well. Manny Machado down with regards to his power numbers, but is hitting above a 300. Jackson Merrill has been able to above a 300 as well. They've been mixing and matching with the likes of Jason Hayward and company being out of the fold, but you've been able to get some relatively solid production out of Luis Rice at the top of the lineup, hitting at 285. I think that this is going to go northward back to a 300 by the end of the season, and Jake Cronenworth has dealt with injuries throughout the season. Getting him back, him providing a 385 on base, that helps out quite a bit. And for the San Francisco Giants, William Boor just is not it this year. This has been one of the biggest flopperoonies in all baseball. He's right now supplying the team with, I believe now, 5 home runs, and he's been hitting for about a 207. Eloy Ramos, along with Wilmer Flores, Matt Chapman, all entered into Sunday with 10 home runs. You've got a 355 to a 360 on base out of both Chapman and Eloy Ramos. Jung-Ho Lee doing a nice job moving the line towards the top of the lineup. Mike Yastrzemski has been able to give you about a 345 on base now. Some of the guys at the bottom have just not been able to give you much. Patrick Bailey, Lamont Wade Jr., Luis Matos, hitting below the Mendoza line 200, but for the San Francisco Giants, by far the top team in terms of bullpen ERA. So you should be able to get good length out of Logan Webb, but then you had a bullpen that entered into Sunday with a 242 ERA. No other team had better than a 287 ERA, as Randy Rodriguez has been quite literally one of the best relievers in all of baseball. He's been able to supply you with a sub-2 ERA. After Camilo Doval was testy last year, he has been really good for this team. Hayden Birdsong has been sent out of the bullpen to now start, but even with that, now you've got Tristan Beck as a little bit more of a long guy. Eric Miller has been able to lock it down, so these guys have been pretty superb. And for the San Diego Padres, we're starting to see a little bit of regression with this bullpen, but Robert Suarez is still a relatively good closer. You've got Audrey Montahone as a little bit of a long guy, giving you just above a 3 ERA. You've had Jason Adam, Jeremiah Estrada supply a sub-260 ERA, and in the case of Adam, a sub-2 ERA. So very interesting scenario here at a 7 or less. I'm looking at the over 7.5 or higher, the under, and with the Giants, plus 112 or higher, looking at that run line for the Padres need at least a plus 184 on that money line. 957, 958 on the betting board. It's the New York Mets on the road against the LA Dodgers. We know that Paul Blackburn is going to be walking the plank for the Mets. Right now, the betting board reads to be determined for the Los Angeles Dodgers, but it's looking like it should be Dustin May. And when you currently don't have a lot of initial openers, but I've got my handicap if you do indeed get Mayday going against Blackburn. I set the Dodgers at a minus 149 on the money line, so minus 148 or better. Looking at the Dodgers, plus 150 or higher, looking at the Mets, and then semi-total to wear a 9.5 or less. I'm going to be in on the over a 10 or a higher to the under, semi-total 9.7. For Blackburn, this is going to be his first start in Neon, as this is going to be his first start of the season. He did make 7 minor league rehab starts, so he should be good to go in terms of lengthwise. He made 4 of them at the AAA level for Syracuse. He's just not a guy that I necessarily think is going to give you too much. Now, overall for the season, he's been able to get 9.5 strikeouts to 4 walks per 9 innings at the minor league level, but he's never been a great swing and miss guy throughout his career. You even take a look at what he did at the major league level during the 2024 campaign. It's not like he was blowing guys away. He was getting less than 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. For his career, about 3 walks per 9 innings. I'm just not really impressed by Paul Blackburn, and in his 5-start sample size with the Mets last season, albeit it's small, he had about a 4.68 fielding independent with a 5.18 ERA. Meanwhile, for Dustin May, it's been a little bit up down all around for him as he's dealt with so many injuries throughout his career. 4.20 ERA. Swing and miss stuff is starting to return to him. 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. You could tell that when he tried to come back off of major surgery in 2023 that had eroded, but this guy is able to be a fireballer, 3 walks per 9 innings, so 3.93 fielding dependent, a little bit better than the ERA. He's given up 3+ runs in 3 out of his last 5 starts, so you do have to have your trepidation there. And for the New York Mets, they're going to be having to go from east to west, but fortunately their game on Sunday got wrapped up very early because, well, they played against the Colorado Rockies, and the Rockies suck at this point. And for Juan Soto, he's starting to be able to bust out of his funk. Back-to-back games with a home run. It's a wonder what the Colorado Rockies will do for you, but additionally, Pete Alonso has been able to give you 12 bombs. He's done a nice job providing a 380 on base. Francisco Lindor, 13 home runs. He's providing a 350 on base. You've had the likes of Sterling Marte, Mark Vientos be a little bit shaky for this team, but still Luan Acuna at the bottom of the fold. He's be able to move the line for this team, and Brandon Nimmo's giving you power, but not necessarily a lot of average for this Mets bullpen. They've been rock solid. They didn't have to use too many pieces yesterday, and they're currently number 2 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Escar Brazobin has been able to give you a sub-2 ERA. They did have to use Reed Garrett and Edwin Diaz yesterday, but not for overly many pitches, so these are guys that could conceivably come back for them. Ryan Stanek has been able to do a nice job as a little bit more of a short guy with about a 3.30 ERA, and then on the flip side, got an LA Dodgers team that has been slightly above average in terms of their bullpen, but Tanner Scott has really let you down this season. Kirby Yates being on the injured list, Michael Kopech still being out, Blake Trine, so many of these injuries are starting to rack up for the team, and then you've got Luis Garcia, Anthony Banda providing north of a 3.5 ERA, but the long guys in Ben Casparas, Jack Dreher, they've been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, so that's been solid for them. I do think that for the Dodgers, they're going to be able to get to Blackburn because you do have a Death Star lineup. I recognize that the Dodgers did have to play on Sunday Night Baseball, which that's a little bit of a bounce back, but Shohei Ohtani going into Sunday Night Baseball, 22 bombs, nearly a 400 on base. Freddie Freeman, 440 on base with 9 home runs. And then you've got Mookie Betts along with Teoscar Hernandez, Andy Paz, all between 8 and 10 home runs. A long time, Edman. Edman has not been himself since coming off the injured list. And for Betts, you expect a little bit more than 340 on base, but I think that he's going to be able to get online. Max Muncy was able to hit a few home runs over the weekend as well, so that'll be able to help out this team. So for the LA Dodgers, I do think that they do a nice job getting to the Mets at a minus 148 or better, looking at the Dodgers plus 150 or higher, looking at the Metropolitans, and then 9.5 or less, like the over, 10 or higher, the under, 950, 960 on the betting board. The Boston Red Sox are going to be playing against the LA Angels as Tyler Anderson is on the bump for the Halos, and Richard Fitz is on the bump for Boston, and Boston is hanging between a minus 144 to a minus 155 favorite, plus 130 to plus 136 is that number on Los Angeles. 9.5 is the total. Over is between minus 110 to a minus 120. The under is between even a minus 110, and for the Red Sox, made their money line a minus 164. Right now, we're seeing that initial opener at FanDuel with regards to run line being at a plus 140, and I would be willing to gamble on that run line for Richard Fitz. He went out and made his first start off the injured list for only 3 innings his last time out. I think that they could probably extend him a little bit more here. He's probably not going to be back to 5+ innings or anything like that, and he's due for a little bit of regression. 270 ERA, 394 fielding dependent, even if you date it back to the few starts he had last season with Boston. If you look at his 8 career starts at the big league level, 221 ERA with a 362 fielding dependent. He does a great job being able to keep the ball in the yard. 2 home runs allowed in his 8 starts, but still, you do have to have a little bit of question mark there. And then on the flip side for Tyler Anderson, this guy is doing for a whole bunch of regression, and we're starting to see it a little bit more. 339 ERA, but a 520 fielding dependent. Gets less than 7 strikeouts per 9 innings. Gives up 3.5 walks per 9 innings. 1.6 home runs per 9 innings. He just so happens to give up a whole bunch of solo shots and is like Houdini whenever men get on base. It's absolutely incredible, the strain rate that we've seen for Tyler Anderson over the last few seasons. I just don't think that's sustainable. Now, you do have a Boston Red Sox lineup that, ever since Alex Bregman went down with an injury, they have not been great, to say the least. They did enough to get the job done against the Atlanta Braves yesterday, but you do have a pair of guys out there that are still giving you a double-figure amount of bombs. Will Weiler Abreu, along with Rafael Devers, combined 25 home runs between these two guys. Don't ask Rafael Devers to pick up a glove, but you know what? He'll pick it up with the bat north of 400 base. Jaron Duran is starting to round into a little bit of form. He's hitting at 265. Carlos Narvaez has actually been really good at the catcher spot, about a 350 on base, but we're starting to see massive regression with Christian Campbell. He's now hitting about a 225. He's really fallen off since beginning part of the season. Trevor Story actually drove in all the team's runs yesterday against the Atlanta Braves, but still hitting less than a 230 for the season. He has not been great, to say the least. And for the Boston Red Sox, this has been a bullpen that it's not necessarily one that I trust overly much, but it's not the world's worst bullpen. They're right around about 11th in the big leagues in terms of bullpen area. Aroldis Chapman is a guy that I just always am going to have my trust issues with, but that said, he's been able to supply you with a sub-3 ERA. You've gotten some good innings as well out of Brandon Bernardino, has been able to give you a sub-2 ERA. Greg Weiser came into the game yesterday. He's able to hold down the 4. Garrett Whitlock has been a little bit up and down, but he's able to give you multiple innings, be a nice long guy for this team. And on the flip side, you've got yourself an LA Angels team that they actually did a good job in their bullpen yesterday, but they entered into Sunday. It does stink at last in the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA. It's becoming survival of the fittest out there with that bullpen, as Brock and Roll Burke, who provided a pair of scoreless innings yesterday, so yay verily, but Kenley Jansen, Ryan Zephyrion, Burke, who I mentioned a little bit before, Connor Brogdon, all these guys are rocking at least a 5 ERA this season. They've been looking at Garrett McDaniels, but he lands on the injury list. Jose Fermin is now on the injury list, so they've got a lot of guys who are banged up. For the Angels, if you look at home runs per game away from home, they're a top 2 team in the American League, as you've got Taylor Ward along with Logan O'Hoppe combining for 30 home runs, and for O'Hoppe, he's been able to hit about a 260 for the team, not necessarily great on base, but Zach Neto, 9 bombs, he's been able to give you about a 270 average. They're getting back Mike Trout, which is helpful, but he's really not aiming for a lot of average. That's coming off the injury list. He's back above the Mendoza line of 200, but I mean, that's been an issue, but 9 home runs over the course of 116 at-bats this season. But Joe Adell, Kerry, and Paris, these guys have a combined 13 home runs this season, and they're both giving you less than a 280 on base and less than a 210 average. So, not necessarily savory there. And the Luis Renifo hitting a 215 with 1 home run this season. That's not good, to say the least. So, I do think that the Red Sox should be able to take you to the Angels, get to Tyler Anderson, sell my till at 9.7. So, I like the Red Sox on the run line, and I do like the 9.5 over. 961, 962 on the betting board. The Detroit Tigers are on the road facing off against the Chicago White Sox. The Cannon, Jonathan Cannon, is on the bum for the Southsiders, and Captain Jack Flaherty is on the bum for Detroit. Detroit is a massive favorite between minus 195 to minus 205. Plus 170 to plus 175. That number on the Southsiders, with 8.5 being the total. The under is minus 120, and the over is even. If you're looking at a run line price on the Tigers, right now find that initially at a minus 122. If we could get closer to a minus 120, I'd be willing to take a shot there. I did set mine at a minus 121, so this is a little bit more of wait and see mode, but for Captain Jack Flaherty, he's been able to do a solid job in terms of his swing and miss stuff. The big issue for him has been giving up the homers, as Jack Flaherty had that issue last season after he got traded from the Detroit Tigers with the LA Dodgers, and that's manifested itself this season. 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, but getting 11 punch-outs per 9 innings, 394 ERA, closer to a 413 fielding independent, but does appear as though he's rounding into a little bit of better form. 3 earned runs and fewer allowed in each of his last 3 starts. Meanwhile, you've got a bunch here in the White Sox that have just been allergic to offense. They really are allergic to it away from home, but even at home, this has been one of the worst teams in terms of run creation in all of baseball. Right now, they're averaging about 3.4 runs per game. That is 26th in the big leagues, and they are getting Mike Tauchman back off the injury list. He was able to hit a home run yesterday. Andrew Benintendi is off the injury list. He's up to 6 bombs as well, but there's just a lot of guys in general that aren't moving the line for this team. You've got Edgar Quiero, the backup catcher, actually giving you north of a 330 on base, so that's been a little bit helpful, and Chase Merderoth has been able to give you about a 280 average, so that's been helpful. Miguel Vargas up to 8 bombs, 313 on base, but you've got Luis Robert along with Andrew Vaughn, and Andrew Vaughn actually got sent down to the minor leagues. He was that bad, but both of these guys, 5 home runs this year. Both of these guys hitting below the Mendoza line 200, and Vaughn, before he got sent down to the minor leagues, at 220 on base. You've got Josh Rojas, who's currently up at the big league level, hitting a $164, about as useful as a poopy flavored lollipop. And for the Chicago White Sox, this is a bottom 10 team in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Mike Vasil has actually been very good as a long guy. He's been able to give you a sub 225 ERA, but he's pretty much the lone trustworthy guy other than Steven Wilson in this bullpen, as you've had a lot of other guys that have just not been able to give you too much in general, as Jordan Leisure is leisurely giving you north of a 4 ERA. Brandon Eisert has been giving up a whole bunch of runs as well. It's been very rough in terms of what we've been seeing in terms of some of these longer guys, like a Penn Murphy has been providing well north of 5 ERA. Miguel Castro has not worked out for the team. Jared Schuster, now they've got Bryce Wilson back in the bullpen as well. So these guys are just not giving you too much in general. And I do think that on the flip side, you're going to be able to get much more production out of a Detroit Tigers team that's currently in the top 6 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. And you've got so many guys in that Detroit Tigers bullpen that you're able to mix and match with. Like a Brian Herter is a guy that's able to give you multiple innings. Will Vest, Tommy Kahnle, all supplying a sub-3 ERA for this unit. You've actually had a guy that went out there and pitched 12 pitches yesterday. Chase Lee be a really good find. He's been able to give you a sub-2 ERA as well, and I do think that for the Detroit Tigers, they do a nice job in terms of being able to generate some offense of their own in this one, with Wencio Perez coming off the injury list, making an immediate impact for this team. You've got Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, who both been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers along Kerry Carpenter, though Carpenter has been a little bit in and out of the lineup last few days. For Torkelson, not necessarily hitting for a ton of average, but a 346 on base. And then you've been able to get good production out of Zach McKinstry when he's been out there, give you about a 360 on base towards the bottom of the fold. Javi Baez, along with Gleyber Torres, are both hitting about a 272, 280 as well. So circumstance where I do think that the Tigers are able to take it to a guy, Jonathan Cannon, that has actually been one of the better pitchers for the Chicago White Sox this season. But now that's much like winning a beauty pageant at a bowling event. But that said, for Jonathan Cannon, 4.15 ERA, fielding independence more around about 4.37. Not necessarily too much of a swing and miss guy. He's been getting about 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but to be able to keep the hard contact down, giving up 1.2 home runs per 9 innings, albeit it's given up 9 runs, 8 of which were earned in his last 2 starts. But both of those starts did come on the road. He's been a little bit better at home. That said, I do think that the Tigers go out there, get the job done. I'm willing to lay up to a minus 120 on that run line. And somebody told it an 8.4, so and an 8.5, I like the under. We wrap things up with 963, 964 on the card. It is the Athletics, and they're going to be playing us the Minnesota Twins. Joe Ryan is on the bump for the Twins, and you've got Luis Severino is on the bump for the Athletics. And right now, the lone opener that I'm seeing is at FanDuel. The Twins are at a minus 162, plus 136 on the A's, and that total is 9.5. The over is even money, and the under is minus 120. And in this case, I would be willing to take a shot on the Athletics. I set them at a plus 132. For Joe Ryan, he always seems to give up a little bit more hard contact away from home rather than at home. If you look at his career splits, 364 ERA at home with just under 1.3 home runs allowed per 9 innings, just over 1.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings away from home, 390 ERA. And Luis Severino has not been himself when he's been in Sacramento. How about a 0.87 ERA on the road for Severino? He's yet to give up a home run in 31 innings. Meanwhile, 6.20 ERA with 4 home runs allowed in 40 2/3 innings away from home. And the Athletics, thanks to the Angels, actually give you a really good bullpen performance yesterday. They are now dead last in the big leagues with a ERA that's right around 6 in the bullpen. Even Mason Miller has not necessarily been great for the Athletics in this bullpen. You just have a lot of guys that have been pooping the bed. Justin Cerner have been good for the team all season long, and then he gives up a bunch of runs yesterday. You've got Grant Holman, who's been giving you north of a 4.70 ERA, so he's starting to regress as well. There's really not a lot of trustworthiness here. What you do like for the Athletics, though, is that you do have quite a bit of hard contact hitters in this lineup, as Tyler Soderstrom, after a little bit of rough go of it, he was able to have a pair of home runs north of the border. He, Brent Rooker, Shea Langoliers, all these sent home runs as far as the season. Soderstrom and Rooker both right around about a 330 on base. And Lawrence Butler starting to pick it up with regards to the average. He's been able to give you 8 bombs. Jacob Olsen hitting a 357 has been great, and he's starting to draw a few walks as well. Miguel Andujar has been able to hit darn near 300 as well. And for the Minnesota Twins, this has been a team that has been very rough in terms of their offense, as you've got Byron Buxton, who's been able to give you 10 home runs. Getting him off of the concussion IL has been very helpful for the team. But just take a look at the Minnesota Twins and their overall run creation. It's been very shaky, to say the least. When this team has been on the road, they're only averaging about 3.8 runs per game. But as we know, in Sacramento, the ball's been absolutely flying this year. And now you've got Matt Wallner coming off the injury list. He's been able to give you north of a 350 on base. Royce Lewis just sits up in himself since coming off the injury list. But that said, you've been able to Trevor Larnach give you 8 bombs. He's giving you now about a 320 on base. Harrison Bader's moving line, give you about a 365 on base. And this has been a Twins bullpen that has been in the top 5 of the big leagues in terms of their own ERAs. You've had Danny Colum yet to give up an earned run this far this season, and Yohan Duran is rocking an ERA that's right around about a 1. Justin Topa, Louis Varland, Cole Sands, these guys have been able to give you sub 3 ERA. So interesting circumstances here. I do think that things are going to be a little bit higher scoring, and I do think that both of these pitchers give up quite a few runs. I said by total 9.7. I like the over, and for the Athletics, I'm going to be willing to take a plus 133 or higher on that money line, and that'll wrap things up for the Monday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of 2 ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at GUnit_81. Keep in mind, LRCM, name does not matter, so per usual, please send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to find whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Big thanks once again to William Boor of Action Network for joining me in my segment, coming at you guys every single day throughout the baseball season on this podcast. So I will be back with you guys once again tomorrow. Thank you.
For the ones who get it done, the most important part is the one you need now. And the best partner is the one who can deliver. That's why millions of maintenance and repair pros trust Grainger, because we have professional-grade supplies for every industry, even hard-to-find products. And we have same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.